Hey everyone, so this video is a conversation between my friend Zakk and I that happened on Sunday. So Zakk is a Satanist and I am a Christian, and I thought it would be a fun conversation as part of my conversations idea for this channel. Two people with opposing viewpoints, just discussing. So around the 8-minute mark, for the first 8 minutes of the video, we talk about our upbringing and kind of our experiences with the church. So that's the first 8 minutes, and then after that, most of the rest of the time is just Zakk and I. He discusses his belief system. I discuss my belief system. Not comprehensively by any means, but we're just kind of going back and forth the rest of the time about our religious and spiritual outlook. And I hope that I'm hoping to, with this channel, start to get more. I don't have a ton of time to put into this right now, but I'm hoping to get more like professional with my sound quality and my video quality, and more defined with like maybe having a script or more specific things that I'm trying to teach or talk about. But for now, this is just a general, hoping to unify people and show that we can agree to disagree and even be friends with people who don't see things the way we do a lot of the time. So I will be done and let you watch the video. So thanks for watching. Peace. All right, so Zakk and I have been conversing for like 20 minutes already, and we noticed that somehow the recording didn't start. So we're gonna just we'll rehash a little bit of what we were talking about. So super frustrating, but all right, let's try to pick it back up here. Okay. So this is super unstructured. Okay, so as I said previously that you didn't hear about, Zakk and I are buddies. We've talked a few different times, like it's just going to be a discussion like we've had before. We're buddies from like Jefferson Elementary days, so we've known each other for a while, and then in the last few years we have like caught up and gotten coffee together and chatted about religion, and we're both deep thinkers, and I think we have great conversations, so I thought we could share that with the world. And so yeah, so we're gonna like focus on kind of religion, and we'd been sharing our stories, and so we'll have to share them again. But I asked Zakk to start off with just talking about like his experience with the church, and we can just, if you don't mind,
let's
just restart here.
All right. So from the point that I asked Jesus into my heart until January of last year, I'm going to try and shorten it up so we have more time to talk about other things.
What was the date on that?
January 9th of 2021.
You were sober?
Yep, sober. That's when I got sober. Gotcha. And between those 2 points, I was very religious. I grew up, all of my family was very religious. I led worship in youth group. Mm-hmm. My mom was a youth group leader, and went to church camp, and that is where, as I said, looking back, one of the main issues that kind of arose at the time was mental health wasn't properly accounted
taken
for.
Seriously.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what was a psychotic episode of being bipolar and schizoaffective was seen as this like spiritual connection, and the Holy Ghost I was being touched by the Holy Ghost and everything. Yeah. So
was it like there's different denominations like Pentecostal and
it wasn't Pentecostal.
Okay.
It's I don't know, should I say the church?
No, let's not.
Okay. Yeah, it's a big church around here.
Spiritualized and not.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it was we could
So
then even after all of that, leading up to my sobriety, is very, very religious, and did, for all intents and purposes, did not live properly as a Christian. I would definitely admit.
Is that disconcerting in your inner, like?
Yes, so I would definitely like
Shame yourself and
yeah, and I would do things that would make me happy, and then I would feel bad about it later. So I'm like, is this what God wants? Am I getting into heaven? Like, I was constantly worried about that, but I was always comforted in some sense by going to heaven, and that's what kind of made me feel like I was invincible, because I figured, no matter what, if I die, I'll go to heaven. It's fine.
Wow.
And yeah, so then that almost happened, and just that experience is what was a turning point for me, and turned into apostasy, and now I have just kind of dived into the world of Satanism, and which, as I said before, is not as bad as it sounds. But that's been really freeing for me.
Push back on a little bit here, maybe.
Yes. Definitely. I'm all about talking about it. So.
Apostasy being like you leave the faith that you were once a part of.
Yep.
Some interesting issues you raise there about like inviting Jesus into your heart, and oh man.
Yeah.
So I won't get sidetracked, but anything else you want to add into your story? Tell mine.
I think that those are the main points that are important.
Yeah. So we're just sharing our religious backgrounds and just our story a little bit. I grew up with like missionary parents, super like churchy, very heavily Christian upbringing for me as well. So we're both from Winona Lake. This whole area is pretty Christianized area of the nation, in a Christianized nation already, and then we're a little pocket of like extra special.
Yes.
I grew up in the church, and then I had mentioned that I appreciate my parents for. Zakk sounds like he experienced more of like the dogmatism, like you believe on faith, kind of blind faith, like. And I appreciate my parents for, they like lived it out, and they didn't force me to go to church eventually. Like, and I was a good little boy. I was a good little Christian boy. And then I told Zakk the turning point for that was like middle school, when young adulthood came with all its temptations and realizations, and that whole transition of hitting puberty and going into public schools, like middle school especially is a big transition from elementary school. But I lived basically for myself and apart from God from like 7th or 8th grade through, I would say 7th through 8th grade through definitely junior year of college. So, so then down at school, I went to IU, which is party school. And really all schools these days are party schools.
Yeah.
Zakk had a near-death experience that had a turning point in his life, and then down at school at IU, I had a turning point as well in my spiritual journey. So that's when I've had psychological issues as well. I had a psychotic break down at school. I was hospitalized for that, and I had the nurse came in and sedated me. I thought I was dying. And I cried out to Jesus, basically. So after having not sought God since like early days in my life as a kid, I finally cried out to Jesus and felt like I woke up from sedation and I was back to normal, basically. I'd been healed in my mind. That's what I say happened. The doctors kept me for a week, and they finally let me go. I was like, I'm healed, like I'm back to normal. You can let me go now. And they're like, nope, that was too crazy to to just brush aside. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that's when I became a Christian. Was that little turning point in my spiritual journey. And So yeah, here we are. That's a little context for our conversation today. I guess we could. Why don't you talk about Satanism and then I'll talk about Christianity, and we can ask. Feel free to like.
Yeah.
My conversation style is like almost to like I interrupt you if I have something that comes up.
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
We'll go back and forth a little bit.
So Satanism, there are multiple versions or sects or whatever. So there's atheistic, theistic, and personal. And from my understanding, it's there is like Anton LaVey, which in the 60s and 70s, he's the one who started the Church of Satan. And that was more basically a trolling thing, like just trying to
counterculture.
Yes. And
Satanic Bible.
Yeah.
Did he write the original? Okay.
And his whole thing was just to do what you wanted, basically. Like it's a very like primal. We are human, and we are animals, just like anything else, any other species, and so just be who you want to be, kind of thing. And which was, I could see how that would be empowering because you are completely free of anything. Sure. But I think there is a semblance of like amorality in that. Gotcha. And so then later the Satanic Temple became a thing, and Lucian Greaves is the one who started that one, and that is more of a political counterpoint.
Gotcha.
So their belief mainly is like plurality in America, like keeping it.
I remember that.
That kind of
What are you talking about?
So pretty much anytime there's sort of overstep and blurring the lines of separation of church and state, the Satanic Temple will step in and do what they can to counter that.
Yeah, advocate.
So my personal satanic beliefs, I guess, is a little bit of both, in that I don't believe in any sort of higher power. I don't believe in a creator or multiple gods or anything like that. I just believe that I am the center of my own universe, and I can manifest and create and do what I want, but I have to also understand that everyone is the center of their own universes as well. And so we're all kind of just experiencing consciousness at the same time.
Is there one universal consciousness? It's kind of like a pantheistic. We talked about that last time.
Yeah. I'm open to that, like that the universe itself is kind of broken up into all of these different consciousness.
Gotcha.
But my
mind blowing.
Yeah. So it's kind of where I'm at. Not spiritual, not mystical. Very much like science based.
Gotcha.
And self-empowerment. That's my main thing. And I think because I don't believe you need religion to have morals, and I don't believe that you need to have any type of spirituality to better yourself and understand that like what you do affects other people, and to not do harm unto other people.
Definitely.
So
there's so much to ask about.
I mean, go ahead because
talk about like it's called Satanism, and like as a Christian, that like is scary to Christians for sure. Like how is it that you? So I guess what I would imagine is Satan is more of a symbol for like it's against the dogmas of like the church that's been so powerful.
Yes.
So I guess I can answer my own question, but you can talk about like that.
Yeah. So in the Bible, Satan is often referred to as the adversary, and I think that's a very relative term to what side of it you're on.
You obviously some good points.
So I think that you're right. Like Satan is more of a symbol. I mean, like not to make comedy out of it, but it's like Batman in Gotham. Like he's he's kind of seen
Satan's
as like
Batman.
Pretty much.
Christianity's Gotham, the big institution.
Yes,
yeah.
I 100% believe that.
Gotcha.
But no, in all seriousness, Satan is definitely the symbol, and there is theistic Satanism where people do worship a Satan.
Yeah.
But the Satanism that you hear nowadays is not that. Satanism
Gotcha.
is not worshiping anything.
More political.
Yes,
More
and
political.
if there is any type of worship, it's worshiping yourself
Gotcha.
by indulging in things that make you happy while still refraining from things that are going to harm other people. So, but I have had this conversation a lot with Christians that, why, that's scary, like, that's such a, like, evil thing. And my thing is, like, I don't think Satanism is made to impress Christians. Like, if you're already a Christian, Satanism doesn't apply. My goal is to not turn someone from a Christian into a Satanist.
Gotcha.
My goal is to just have everyone be able to have the freedom to practice whatever they believe, as long as it's not harming anyone.
Gotcha.
So
cool.
Yeah.
You make a pretty good case there. I'm like, all right. I'll just share about my Christian beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a Christian, I worship Jesus, who I believe came into history, was born of the Virgin Mary, lived a perfect life as like God in human form, lived the perfect life that none of us can ever live. So that's like a fundamental tenet of my faith, is that the world is broken and each individual is broken in need of a savior. So I believe what the scripture says about like his historical reality and then his life of ministry, which culminates in the cross, which is like, it connects the Old Testament into the New Testament, which is like blood sacrifice. God needs to be appeased. When Satan tempted Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, something was like broken between God and humans, like his creation rebelled against him. And then Christ comes to so God sends himself into the world to right the wrong that was eternally broken. Once his human creation, which is like a special creation, that's another super important belief, is like it's called the Imago Dei, which is like we are created in God's image. So with your words about like you're creative, you can create, and there's a lot of like, humans are powerful and we are creative, and I would chalk that up to like we have a creator who fashioned us like he is, but we're supposed to like bow down to him and worship him rather than be the end all be all in and of ourselves, because I think that's a deception. I think that.
So I'm curious, what with that, what is Christianity's and just Christians in general, like the rejection of like enlightenment and self-empowerment, like where does that come from?
I think Christians that reject the Enlightenment, they're foolish if they cannot see the amazing human progress that came with like whatever, all the philosophers, the artists, the people that rose up against the church and the power structure that was like oppressing the people. So I advocate for like thoughtful Christianity, balanced Christianity, an informed faith. At the end of the day, I think that like we all have faith in something. So that's where like faith comes in, is like we're finite, we don't have all the answers. We have to eventually like, we're not God, basically. So we have to have faith. but we can still be like rational and curious and not scared of like if my faith is true, then I shouldn't be scared about like scientific discoveries or so I would grieve over the fact that the church as an institution is so imperfect and perpetuated a lot of misery and oppression of common people. But I also defend the church in that like often I think that unfair criticism is like angers like the church is the only one that has done that. Like
I get what you're saying.
So anyways, like the atheistic like communists of the 20th century, for example, like perpetuated the most the most en masse human misery ever. Like the people talk about the Crusades, and the Crusades is like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people maybe total like died, and then you talk about, so that's like one little counterpoint. The millions and millions and millions of like just under a godless, materialistic vision of like, it's a false vision, utopian. Like we could just, if we could just have the right system, then everything would like no, we live in a broken.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Broken world.
That's interesting. I think that brings up a point that God or not, all humans have the potential for good and the potential for evil, and I think that's what makes someone a good person or an evil person, is how far into
they act on the good part.
Yeah.
How do we know what's the good part, though?
Yes.
So you think human just our reason can bring us to, that's a huge like philosophical.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
smart people would say that that's true. Like reason, like Sam Harris, or you can go.
Yeah. I think there are definitely people out there that don't have the ability for reasoning and sympathy and empathy, and they just physically cannot feel that. But even still, they have the ability to understand what's normal. And I do 100% believe in a normal, because
that's controversial.
If
everybody's the center of their own universe.
But there is a normal way to interact between universes that is a constant. And I think that ability to, like I said, like not harm anyone, and under your pretense of living in that atheistic communist regime, like that is equivalent to the Crusades or anything done under the name of God. Like normality would be the opposite of that, would be not letting these people starve or be murdered, or you know, like I get that there is a difference in mindset of like how the system should be
founded on what its like foundation is. Would you think do you think the golden rule is a like solid, there's different versions of it?
I don't think it is, because everybody's
which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
And I think that comes with some conditions. Like it's not just black and white, that statement, because what if I hate myself, and what if I am suicidal, what if I
am, and you want to cut yourself or something.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean you go cut other people, because that's what you want. Interesting.
So I think that comes, like there's like a little cliff note that comes with that statement.
For
like,
sure.
You know, you have to, and I've obviously heard you can't fully love anyone else before you love yourself. Like you have to do that first. But I think that's where I can say like Satanism, like we agree on, because you do have to fix yourself and love yourself first, and then you just do it in the name of God. But
gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. It is interesting how there are a lot of similarities between what I believe and most religions, because I think at the end of the day it is all just about the betterment of yourself and society and functioning cohesively. And there will always be problem people and they wouldn't be problem people.
What do we do with the problem people?
Depends how much of a problem they are. But I don't believe mass incarceration is a proper way to handle that.
Yeah, I think
the treatment
rabbit trail.
Yeah. And
an important one. Yeah.
I think the treatment of mental health is a huge part of it, because I think a lot of people, and this is where I get kind of frustrated with the church, because I think, like I said, like a lot of things go undiagnosed because it's seen as like a spiritual, like a holy war internally. And I mean, I remember
which I think it is, but as a Christian, it's another, like, a little critique of Christianity. We can hold both. Like, it is a holy war, which is my, like, spiritual, like, I believe ultimate reality is spiritual, and there's things that, like, and then there's the physical reality, which we can't discount either. Mm-hmm. So there should be policy, and those things can go together, I think. Did that make sense?
Yes, I can respect that, because at least at the end of the day, if the problem is taken care of on a physiological level, like tangible level, then it's fine.
In the New Testament, there's some verses. I'm terrible at remembering what it is. But I think it's maybe James, and he says, it's basically, if you're talking about like praying for somebody, but they're sitting there in front of you poor and naked and hungry, if you just pray over them and you don't give them a meal and some socks, you're like, that's what I was trying. That's basically the nutshell version of it.
No, and I definitely get that. My only issue is, like, it just seems like extra steps. Like
the prayer part?
Yeah. Like, if you have that thought of wanting someone to get better, you have the ability to do it, and if they're right in front of you and you can give them what they need, why do you need to pray about it? Why does that need to be attributed to a higher power? Why can't you give yourself that credit? And that's something I dealt with when I got sober. Everybody was like, "Oh, God gave you the strength. God gave you the strength."
Yeah,
but I was like, "No, like, I did this. This is me. This is all me."
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that's another thing that kind of comes with like Catholic guilt and all of that. Like, we're so, as you said, like, we're so broken and we need saving. There's no point in time where we're ever rewarded, it feels, because everything gets attributed to God. So I think that kind of perpetuates that negative
resentment of Interesting. Oh, these are deep things we speak. Which we speak. Let's wrap it up in a couple minutes, and we can definitely have a little round 2, round 3 action.
We should include that song.
You want to?
Yes.
Go for it.
Oh, like right now?
Sure.
Okay. Go get the speaker.
So this is your song that you wrote?
Yes.
Cool. It's a little plug here for Zakk's musical. He's plugging me for my podcast, and I'm plugging him for his musical aspirations.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna play it on like live.
Oh no.
Tickle the twine a little.
No, this is cool. There's too much going on.
Let's make sure it's not blasting our
it's
audience's ears.
So this is called The Ballad of Rava and Vatu, which Avatar and Korra fans will appreciate.
Okay. This is not the Latin one you said out there?
Yeah, this is off that album.
What is... Okay.
So the album is called Ardente Ecclesia, which is burning the church in Latin. And this whole album is basically challenging things like we've been talking about the church. Yep. And so there's some language, which I'm sure this is,
If you got any children, cover their ears.
So and feel free if it's easier to put this recording over like that. Like you can use my song over the video, so you can hear it clearer.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, we'll listen to it so I can get your reaction.
Sounds good.
But here we go. Technically a Christmas song.
Layer this yourself. You do in every. One man band there.
Well, the drums will just make the beat.
With like low key.
Yeah, it's like a piano roll.
Sacrilege there. Wow.
So this is, like I said, challenging
For sure.
ideas. And if you get too uncomfortable with this,
I'm a little uncomfortable.
I can stop it if you want. It is a long-
Lyrics are profound. Not that I agree with them, but you can tell that they come from a genuine place.
If you're, like I said, if you're,
Well, yeah, I can't do 9 minutes. But do one more verse. Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it gets heavier, like lyrically. So that's why I was saying, if you're uncomfortable and don't want to continue, then
No.
that's understandable. But yeah, so the point of that song mainly is, why did God create us just to damn us? And if it was all part of God's plan, if he knew that we were going to be broken and needed saving, like, why do it at all? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
Super timeless question.
yeah,
People have been asking that forever.
yeah. And I don't claim to know. Obviously, I don't know for sure about anything, but
I have a quick thought.
yes.
Basically just that to create beings with the power to choose him or to reject him, like the freedom of will and the love, like the world that we live in with such beauty and such evil, that extreme spectrum, somehow in his sovereignty he deemed that a more valuable and a more worthwhile and better creation than if he created like robots to serve his needs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a quick, just something that comes right to mind and justifying that, but super profound question for sure.
Well, my issue with the free will idea is that, like, you don't have a choice but free will. So if it's all part of God's plan, you're gonna choose. Like, he already knows what's gonna happen. You can choose whatever. You don't have the choice to not choose.
I think you do. For some reason, I think it's possible that God can know what you're going to do, and you still freely do what you were going to do. That sounds like a contradiction.
And that is a problem that I've had even when I did believe, was there's sort of a paradox there.
For sure.
Like, if simply, like, if I'm choosing between two ice creams and God knows that I'm going to pick vanilla over chocolate, but if I have free will, I can pick chocolate over vanilla. But does he know that I'm going to go back and forth and eventually land on chocolate, or am I going to eventually land on vanilla because I don't actually have free will?
I think he knows you're going to choose vanilla, and you chose vanilla. So he's out ahead of it, but you're making the decision in the moment. That's your free decision. I don't know.
So is that an illusion of free will then? Or is that...
There is this is like higher. This is too
Okay.
too advanced for my
Okay.
for my learning, but
And these are all just questions. I'm not trying to, like...
some people talk about like a limited freedom of will. So it's like that they're philosophers trying to talk about like we have free will, but it's not like unlimited free will. It's like within the bounds of reality, I guess, or creation. But
That's understandable.
End it there.
If you want, I could keep going all day. But
I should get going.
okay. Yeah. And if you want to edit the song out, I get that.
Oh no, we'll see.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're gonna end it there. Thanks for your conversation. Your
Of course.
genuine,
I'm always down.
being genuine, and
I will say one last thing. I respect any point of view as long as you have come to terms with that on your own and your hand wasn't guided by the church or anything. So I respect your beliefs as much as I would hope you respect mine, and I really appreciate this conversation and it being,
respectful.
Yes.
And yeah, for sure. Same to you. All right. Peace.
cool. There it goes.
All right. Test.
Test. Ha ha.
I told a funny joke. Oh. All right.
Cool.